The, the scorecard is a level playing field upon which all the participants are graded. It's transparent, it's made public, and it encourages, because these are good goals, cutting costs, cutting lost time, reducing denials on to injured workers, reducing the number of injuries, working as a team with the employer and the provider and the safety people and so forth. It really efficientizes the delivery of care, and because everyone's looking on as to how everybody performs with respect to this report card. And what it also calls for is the formation of networks of providers, employers, and insurance carriers, as well as unions, to form these networks and then compete with one another for the business of the community. That's why the thing is so powerful, is because it uses a cooperative approach and a capitalistic free market approach to drive things toward more efficiency, greater cost savings, and improvement overall. That's why I know it will work. So that's the scorecard. The average per case medical treatment cost, the average per case disability cost, that is what you pay the injured worker when they're out of work and they need some support while they're trying to get back to work. They don't have any income, which of course you want to drive those two things down as much as you can. The OSHA 200 injury incidence totals, that's the form that is required by law. It's a federal form whenever you have an injury at work. So the total number of injuries are tracked that way. So we want to know how many injuries are occurring per year, particularly per employed person. That's an incidence of injury. And you want that number to fall. Patient-related provider performance. So at the end of the patient's care, they fill out hey, how did your doctor and physical therapy network do? And that is part of this report card. Also the patient-rated payer, that is administrative performance of the insurance company. That is also rated by the recipient of the benefits, that is the patient. And this is one way we're going to keep the consumer, the patient, center stage and up front. And really the only thing that most of the public wants. They don't want the patient to get lost in healthcare reform. You can substitute the word consumer for patient with respect to healthcare. Although, as we just got done discussing, the people that buy the insurance and hold the policy, the employer, are different than the beneficiaries. So you can have a debate, well, who's the consumer here? Is it the employer? Is it the patient? I maintain, because of the nature of the insurance that is being provided, that it's both. So you want to keep everyone's interest up front, and we do that by tracking the average cost, as well as the average disability time per case. Additional things, the percent of cases with attorney involvement. With all due respect to the legal community, we don't want attorneys involved with work comp cases if we can help it. The only time attorneys come in is when there's conflict. So if we use that as a tracking parameter or an index of the amount of conflict in the system, we want to drive that down and want to have everybody encouraged to do that. The percent of cases with one or more treatment plan denial, there's a denial tracking. We want to reduce that because it upsets patients. They go out and get attorneys get involved, and when was the last time attorneys got involved that everyone saves a lot of dough? It just doesn't happen. The percent of cases with one or more independent medical evaluations or insurance medical evaluations, forced exams, we want to minimize that. Why? Because they're usually not favorable to the patient, causes more attorneys, more conflict. Number two, it's a big cost to the carrier, who then passes that cost along to the employer. These IME examinations cost anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. And that's unnecessary dollars spent if your network is working together cooperatively for common goals that benefit everyone. The average per disputed case resolution time, that will track how the Department of Labor handles these cases. We've been talking about the amount of time from a denial happening to a hearing happening that actually rules on that denial as being about 3 to 4 months. But more recently, some other problems there. We want to minimize the amount of time in case of a dispute that you can resolve those disputes, because time is money and time is tragedy for the worker, because they're the one languishing in pain and trying to recover. They're also going broke too, slowly. And finally, the average per case vocational rehabilitation cost. Sometimes patients can't get back to their old job because they've been injured too severely and they have permanent impairment. In those situations, you need to have vocational rehabilitation counselors brought in to help the patient redirect their career goal so they can move on with their life, become productive, and get out of the system. And that's a very important parameter and one of the most important areas of work comp, particularly with the difficult cases that don't progress well and that aren't getting back to work. That's really the exit strategy for people. And it's a new goal and a new passion for people to change this tragedy that happened to them into a new career direction that they can be proud of.